The fighting type, in my opinion, is the most versatile type in all of Pokemon, with many of them having the ability to learn awesome setup moves like Swords Dance, Bulk Up, Agility, and Nasty Plot. And there are some fighting types I like that work well as mixed attackers like Lucario and Toxicroak. The Paldea region introduced us to some heavy hitters like Flamigo and the starter Quaquaval. Even veterans like Gallade got an increased buff with a brand new ability, and I look to put all of that together in this Pokémon Scarlet Monotype run for fun using only fighting types. Even though this is not a hardcore Nuzlocke, I'm going to try to make this as fun and challenging for me, the player, and interesting and enjoyable for you, the viewer. And here are the ground rules I set in place. Number 1, I'm only going to use fighting type Pokemon, including Pokemon that has fighting as a secondary typing. Pokemon that are not fighting types that have the fighting Terra type will not count as eligible encounters. Secondly, I'm abiding by the obedience threshold level cap, which starts at 20 and maxes out at 100 after defeating 8 gyms. But to avoid excessive overleveling, I am going to freeze it at level 75 for the final boss after defeating the 8th gym. And third, I'm installing this Nuzlocke rule that if any of these fighting types are to faint during an important battle, they will be permanently boxed and will never be used again. For those of you who may or may not have noticed in my previous 2 Monotype runs for fun, along with my Pokemon Scarlet Starter Only run and Violet Shiny Badge Quest run, I also installed a second Nuzlocke rule where I'm not going to be using items during the battles, but I am allowed to use held items for the Pokemon. And speaking of which, I actually get to use my starter Pokemon this time, being the Water Duckling Pokemon Quaxly. I won't be using it early on though, because it doesn't gain the fighting typing until level 36 when it fully evolves to Quaquaval. And I hit the luck of the draw already, considering this Quaxly came with the Adamant Nature, which of course is perfect for Quaquaval. There's another Pokemon that I can't use through this playthrough that's already a fighting type, the box legendary Koraidon. I fed this Koraidon a sandwich to perk it up, and eventually we gained a new friendship, especially when it saved me from a tight spot dealing with angry Houndour. We escaped the Inlet Grotto, and now I can really get to work. The Pokemon that I looked for first that I knew I can use early is this confident fighting and flying type, the Gen 9 powerhouse Flamigo. For a Pokemon that you can get this early before even starting the game, Flamigo comes with some spicy stats at 115 base attack and base 90 speed, which is exactly what I was looking for to carry me through the early portion of this Pokemon Scarlet fighting only run. After finding an early Soothe-Bell in Mesagoza, which is tantamount for me to evolve a certain fighting type that I'm going to catch later on in this run, it was once again time to begin another treasure hunt at Naraja Academy. Koraidon and I then went on our mission to prove to everyone that the fighting type deserves to be among the best typings in all of Pokemon. And now that picnics have been unlocked, I was able to hatch a Pokemon Scarlet and Violet Indigo Disc DLC exclusive from the Unova region. It's the adorable Scraggy. I hatched this Scraggy with 2 notable egg moves in Fake Out and Detect. And this Scraggy also came with the defense-minded impish nature, which also lowers the special attack stat. This nature could come in handy for future battles down the road. Time to recruit more fighters, starting with this catch of Makuhita, which I nicknamed Yokozuna. I climbed up this watchtower to get the Drain Punch TM, and pulled off this speedrunner's trick to go across an unreachable hill to hunt down one of my channel mascots, Riolu. Riolu has been an absolute beast since it debuted in the Sinnoh region, and after catching this Riolu and my favorite ball of all, the Luxury Ball, I nicknamed this Riolu The Rock. The reason why I caught this Riolu in a Luxury Ball It'll further speed up the process of evolving to Lucario by max friendship. It has the special attack boosting speed lowering quiet nature. And after catching this Mankey, it's finally time to get ready to rumble. As per the custom for all my playthroughs in Scarlet and Violet, I chose to go after Katie and her bug types in the Cortundo Gym in pursuit of my first badge of this run. I start off with Flamigo, nicknamed after the Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels. I had HBK focus all its energy into producing a powerful attack, considering Flamigo is also a flying type. It quad resists any bug type attacks Katie could muster up. Only 3 wing attacks were needed to secure my first badge pretty easily, with 2 of the wing attacks landing a critical hit. The rampage of HBK was far from over, as it delivered 2 powerful sweet chin music-like low kicks to dispatch the Stony Cliff Titan Cloth for my first Titan battle in the Path of Legend story. I terrestrialized Flamigo for the second phase of this bout, to further increase the chances of landing a critical hit. And so it did, making it 3 crits during this run so far, and as the not-so-mighty cloth went down, the rock gained high enough friendship to evolve into Lucario. Gaining the secondary steel typing makes the rock even more of a powerful force, but the dominance of HBK continues in the Artisan Town against grass-type gym leader Brassius. 2 quick wing attacks made short work of Brassius' first 2 Pokemon. Before the grass terra Sudowoodo, I had Flamigo break it sturdy with a double kick, enabling for Brassius to call upon Sudowoodo to deliver the Gen 9 grass move Trailblaze in order to pick up the pace. However, Flamigo was still faster and struck with another powerful wing attack, before Brassius called for another Trailblaze. Still, it was not going to be faster than Flamigo, as a critical hit wing attack put an end to this gym battle. And with 3 badges in tow, I headed to the land of Kitakami in search of more fighting firepower that is found in the hidden treasure of Area 0 Part 1 Teal Mask DLC. Normally in the base game of Scarlet and Violet, you could find a Heracross at Castleroy Lake in the high 50s, but I was able to find one under the 20s in Kitakami. I also found the Jangmo-O and the Mienfoo, but one of my biggest acquisitions was this male Kirlia with the Trace ability, and you'll see why the Trace ability is important the moment I catch this Kirlia in a luxury ball. I already have a Dawnstone in my bag, and I wasted no time in evolving this Kirlia, nicknamed after LA Knight, into Gallade. Evolving a male Ralts or Kirlia with the Trace ability via a Dawnstone gives Gallade the Sharpness ability, which powers up slicing type moves. And Gallade gets a bunch of high critical slicing type moves like Night Slash, Aqua Cutter, Leaf Blade, and by leveling up Psycho Cut upon evolution. Gallade also learns the fighting move Sacred Sword upon evolution. After meeting with Professor Jock in Kitakami to get my guaranteed Sinnoh Egg, I now have a 1 in 3 chance of hatching this particular Sinnoh starter. And on my first attempt, I was able to hatch this Chimchar. One of the Sinnoh region's all-time great Pokemon. This Chimchar, which I nicknamed after one of my all-time favorite wrestlers, Stone Cold Steve Austin, comes with the special defense boosting, defense lowering, gentle nature. It gains the fighting type at level 14 once Chimchar evolves into Monferno. Time to head back to Paldea and claim more badges. Heading back to Paldea, I now challenge the Team Star Dark Base and its leader Giacomo. Normally a difficulty spike in the early portion of Scarlet and Violet. This is the debut fight for the Rock, my beloved Lucario, squaring off against Giacomo's lead Pokemon, Poniard. I had Lucario build up its defense all the way to a +6 with Iron Defense 3 times. I then also built up the special attack stat of Lucario all the way to +6 with 3 nasty plots. Poniard defiantly chipped away at the HP of Lucario with a flurry of aerial aces before getting demolished by this +6 quad-effective Aura Spear. The only Pokemon left for Giacomo now was a juiced-up Revavroom masquerading as a giant truck, the Segen Starmobile. I terrestrialized Lucario to put on the finishing touch. After taking the resistant Snarl, a now +5 Aura Spear was more than enough to seal the deal in securing my 4th badge of this Pokémon Scarlet fighting only run. I then headed to the swamp area of South Province Area 4 to catch another member from my fighting party, Krogunk, a part poison type that I nicknamed after the fiend, the late great Bray Wyatt, and it's my 2nd fighting type with the adamant nature. My next chosen target is the Open Sky Titan Bombardier, a flying type that could cause massive trouble for my deadly array of fighters. So I went out and caught the electric fighting type Pomo, a familiar face in my recent Pokemon Scarlet and Violet runs. I nicknamed this Pomo after Bret the Hitman Hart, and this is the first fighting type I caught in this run with a neutral nature. And after going on an evening run with the Hitman, it took the 1,000 steps needed for Pomo to evolve into Palmot. Anyone up for some fried turkey this Thanksgiving? My dear friend Palmot can arrange that. Get wrecked, you stupid bird. My fighters are building up steam, and it's now time to show the lean, mean, streaming queen, Electric Master Iono, what we are made of. I picked up 3 noteworthy TMs in Kitakami, with the first one being Stone Edge, which I taught Gallade to destroy Wattrel in 1 hit. The Rock took center stage next, as I unleashed 2 more TMs that I taught Lucario in Earthquake and this critical hit Ice Punch to dispose of Bellybolt. Even though Lucario's attack stat got lowered by Intimidate, it still one-shot Luxio with another Earthquake. I kept Lucario in to do combat against Iono's final Pokemon, Mismagius, a Pokemon normally weak to Ghost and Dark, but due to its Levitate ability, ground attacks can't hit Mismagius, so you know where this is going the moment Iono terrestrializes Mismagius into a Terra Electric type. After taking a Hex that dropped Lucario's health bar deep into the orange, I went for the freeze with Ice Punch but didn't get it, forcing me to sub in Palmot to take the next Hex attack, considering Lucario would not survive another one, especially if it crits. After striking with Brick Break, Mismagius went for the Confuse Ray, but I had Palmot hold a Person Berry to get rid of the confusion, before connecting with a second Brick Break, finishing off the fight, earning me my 3rd gym badge and raising the obedience threshold level cap to 35. Heading over to the desert of East Province Area 3 next, I couldn't resist a good old-fashioned Street Fighter-like beatdown as I unleashed the Rock, my Lucario, on the lurking Steel Titan Orthworm. Knowing how pitiful its special defense stat is, I had Lucario go full-on Ryu mode, delivering a double dose of Aura Spears. And just for good measure, I terrestrialized the Rock to deliver a 2nd Aura Spear for the decisive 1-hit knockout. And as the lurking Steel Titan went down to defeat, John Cena the Mankey evolved into Primeape. Now, with 7 badges in hand, I headed over to the Team Starfire base next. And just outside the hideout, I picked up the TM for Rain Dance. Turns out, I didn't even need it, because as I finished the Star Barrage, for my second straight Monotype run, it started to rain. I guess it was by design that it had to happen a second time, as I went up against the leader of the Shutter Squad and my favorite Team Star leader, Mela. With Torkoal's drought ability nullified by the rain, it also powered up the Aqua Cutter of LA Knight the Gallade. After taking a Flame Wheel that was completely nerfed, a second Aqua Cutter that scored a crit put Torkoal down for the count. I wanted to get this battle over with as quickly as possible while the rain was still falling, as I prepared for an uphill battle with the Shutter Starmobile. After taking a Blazing Torque and having its defense harshly lowered with Screech, Gallade's fourth Aqua Cutter failed to score the KO. Another Blazing Torque thankfully didn't land the crit, and Gallade's final Aqua Cutter put this Starmobile into the junkyard, earning me my 8th badge of this run. I was now battling with a Sandstorm as I went up against Water Gym leader Kofu and Cascarafa. I once again led with Gallade, who instantaneously took out Veluza with a Leaf Blade. After Gallade took Sandstorm damage, Wug Trio was fishing for a flinch with Headbutt, but that 30% chance never came. Then Wug Trio was the next one to get taken out by another Leaf Blade from LA Knight. Gallade unfortunately wasn't going to get the sweep as I brought in Pawmot for some extra firepower against Kofu's ace Pokemon, Water Terra Crabominable. For some high voltage, I terastallized the Hitman right before Kofu terastallized his ace from the Alola region, and the end result was more than shocking. Pawmot wild charged its way to my 4th gym victory, claiming my 9th badge, and the obedience threshold level cap jumps up to 40. Kicking off the second half of my Pokémon Scarlet starter only run, I now headed to Tag Tree Thicket to challenge the Team Star Poison leader Atticus. Going back to that old tried and true strategy, I baited Skuntank into using all 5 of its Sucker Punch attacks by simply dancing around with them, putting Lucario's attack stat and its speed stat all the way to +6 with 3 Swords Dances and 3 Agilities. Once the setting up was done, the only moves Skuntank has left are Toxic and Venoshock, poison moves that can't even touch the rock due to Lucario being a part Steel type, making the rest of this Team Star fight embarrassingly academic. Lucario shook things up with 4 consecutive Earthquakes, making this a one-sided affair for Atticus and earning me my 10th badge. I went ahead and recruited even more fearsome fighters, like Hawlucha, Shroomish, which isn't a fighting type just yet, and Crabrawler, before heading over to Medali Town to face off against everybody's favorite everyday man Larry, a master of normal types. And as everyone knows by now, Larry's only weakness is fighting types. I wanted to keep the momentum rolling with Lucario against Larry's first 2 Pokemon. Komala got decimated with back-to-back Aura Spears. The Dunsparce fared no better as it got polished off by a critical hit Aura Spear, setting the stage for Lucario to go up against Larry's ace Normal Terra Staraptor, pitting 2 of my favorite Pokemon from the Sinnoh region. A grueling battle of attrition was won by the Rock, surviving 2 aerial aces which left the Rock down to 10 HP. The second Aura Spear wiped out Staraptor, earning me my 4th gym badge, and as an added bonus, my starter Fandango evolves into its final form Quackavolt. In earning my 11th badge, the obedience threshold level cap increases up to 45, and as I put Quackavolt to work in defeating the battle-loving neighbor Nemona, my other starter Pokemon, Stone Cold, evolves into Infernape. but the fighting upgrades just kept on coming. I put John Cena into a training mission at South Province Area 1 by beating up some Flamigo with 20 Rage Fists to evolve into the Gen 9 Ghost Evolution Annihilate. The Fiend evolves into Toxicroak. Scraggy, which I nicknamed after Roxanne Perez, evolved into Scrafty. Shroomish, the grass type, which I nicknamed after Rhea Ripley, evolves into the part-fighting type Rillaboom. Yokozuna, the Makuhita, evolved into the powerful Hariyama. And while I was doing the gym test in Montenevera, Cody Rhodes, the Hakamo'o, evolves into the Alola region pseudo-legendary Komo'o. It was now time for two of my newly evolved fighters to put on a show against the MIC of RIP Ghost Gym Leader Rhyme in a double battle. As usual, I decided to take advantage of the advantages this gym provides by terrestrializing Annihilate. It was a smart decision considering it got rid of the ghost weakness suffered by Annihilate the moment Banette targeted Annihilate with Shadow Sneak. John Cena busted Mimikyu's disguise with Shadow Punch, while I had the choice scarf holding Roxanne Perez get rid of Banette with Crunch. And once Rhyme brought out Houndstone, both my fighters got an Omni boost to all 5 of their stats thanks to terrestrializing Annihilate early, but Roxanne Perez was already at a +2 due to knocking out Banette, getting 1 attack boost because of the Moxie ability. Scrafty got another Moxie boost once it got rid of Mimikyu with a second Crunch, putting Roxanne Perez at a +3 in attack. Houndstone was wiped out immediately with Annihilate's Rage Fist. And now with Rhyme down to her last Pokemon being Toxtricity, both Annihilate and Scrafty got another boost to both their attack stats. And now Scrafty was at a +4 in attack. Not even terrestrializing Toxtricity into a ghost type was going to save Rhyme from suffering another defeat, as Annihilate earned the right to finish off this fight with a second Rage Fist. Annihilate and Scrafty meshed well as a tag team, in earning me my 12th badge, and the obedience level cap rises up to 50. Next on my agenda of badge collecting was taking on the Quaking Earth Titan Great Tusk, giving me the opportunity of utilizing Breloom for the first time. After Great Tusk struck first with Rapid Spin, it got immediately paralyzed due to Breloom's Effect Spore ability. The Ancient Dawn fan became fully paralyzed after suffering the first Seed Bomb from Breloom, allowing for Breloom to connect with a second Seed Bomb to set up the second phase. Breloom got taken deep into the orange with Great Tusk's first attack, but Effect Spore came up huge again in putting Great Tusk to sleep. Miraculously, Great Tusk remained snoozing for the remainder of this bout, right after Breloom set up Leech Seed to gain some HP back. And combining with Arven and his Scovillain, this made for the easiest triumph yet over this titanic and powerful Paradox Pokemon. 4 Titans have now been conquered, raising my badge count up to 13. Now I was headed for Alfrenada Town for one of the more challenging battles to come. Along the way inside the cavern, I caught myself a Monotype with the Pure Power ability, and this was my 3rd fighting type with the Adamant Nature. Finally reaching Alfrenada, I now was standing toe-to-toe with my favorite gym leader of the Paldea region, Tulip, who has the type advantage considering she is a master of psychic types. I elected to start this gym battle with a psychic type of my own, and LA Knight, the awesome Gallade, halving the attack stat of Farigiraf with Will-O-Wisp. I had Gallade set up both a Reflect and a Light Screen, which will last 8 turns due to Gallade holding the Light Clay, while Farigiraf continued to take burn damage. Both the Will-O-Wisp and the Reflect allowed for Gallade to take those 3 Zen headbutts well from Farigiraf. And I also made the switch in bringing in Roxanne Perez the Scrafty to dodge the next Zen headbutt due to Dark-type immunity. Farigiraf was promptly eliminated by 2 crunches from Scrafty, and knowing that Tulip was about to bring Gardevoir next, considering that Scrafty is quad weak to Fairy-type moves, it gave me the rare opportunity of setting up a mascot showdown between Tulip's Gardevoir and the Rock, my Lucario. Striking first with Metal Claw before taking a neutral psychic attack, Lucario delivered with Metal Claw again, and it's au revoir Gardevoir. Lucario's performance provided a safe switch and bringing back in Scrafty to deal with Tulip's 3rd Pokemon, Espathra. The Reflect turns were now up, but it hardly mattered, as 2 more crunch attacks from Scrafty put down Espathra. Another Fairy type was coming out in Florges, so I subbed out Scrafty one more time and brought out the perfect counter to the Kalos Flower and one of my favorite Pokemon to ever come out of the Johto region, Triple H, my Heracross. Heracross, like many of my fighting types, are weak to psychic attacks. However, Heracross is also a bug type, one of the psychic type's weaknesses. And the second Tulip terrestrialized her Florges into a Terra Psychic type, it was ball game, as I had Heracross use the multi-hit move, Pin Missile, which is a bug move that can hit up to 5 times. It hit all 4 times, which was guaranteed considering Heracross was holding the loaded dice item, which debuted in Scarlet and Violet. A methodical victory for my fearsome fighters, raising the obedience threshold level cap to 55 now that I have 7 gym badges and 14 badges in total. After more training, I was able to evolve 3 more of my fighters. I evolved Kevin Nash into Crabominable with an Ice Stone. Monotype now evolved into Medicham, and Mienfoo, which I nicknamed after Becky Lynch, evolved into Mienshao. Even Koraidon got some training in by doing the back jumping technique all the way to the top of Paldea's highest peak at Glaciado Mountain, where I was about to challenge for my 8th and final gym badge, helping me pass the gym test by doing a snow slope run. As for the gym battle with Ice Leader Grusha itself, I wanted to put my fighting flexibility to good use by using 4 different Pokemon, starting with Infernape, who absolutely scorched Frostmoth with a quad-effective Flare Blitz. For the next showdown, I brought out Medicham, now nicknamed after The Miz, to square off against Beartick. Holding a wide lens, Medicham high jump kicked Beartick into oblivion. Next, I brought out Becky Lynch to Mienshao to go up against Titan, one of my favorite Gen 9 Pokemon. However, Titan with its thick fat ability was no match for Mienshao's Drain Punch. For the final face-off, it's Mysterio de Halucha against Grusha's ace, Altaria, a dragon flying type that's about to terrestrialize into an ice type. Altaria has 3 super effective moves in Ice Beam, Hurricane, and Moonblast, but never got to use any of those moves as Halucha flew into the air with the greatest of ease before getting the drop on Altaria with its signature move Flying Press for the one-hit KO, securing my 8th and final gym badge. And by virtue of this resounding victory, the obedience threshold level cap maxes out at level 100, but I will freeze it at level 75, as I officially qualify for the Pokemon League. But before we get there, I still need to collect 3 more badges. Time for my fearsome fighters and I to clear another massive hurdle, as we head up to North Province Area 3 to do combat against Team Star's Rugby Squad leader Ortega, a master of fairy types. I begun this bout with Toxicroak against Ortega's first Pokemon, Azumarill. I set up Toxicroak's special attack with Nasty Plot, but Azumarill decided to bounce, forcing me to sub in Lucario to take the blow, and it did significant damage due to Azumarill's huge power ability, which doubles Azumarill's attack stat. Lucario struck with Flash Cannon before Azumarill hit an Aqua Tail that brought Lucario down to 31 HP. The Rock toughed it out and eliminated Azumarill and Wigglytuff with 2 more Flash Cannons. From this point on, I knew this was going to be an uphill battle as I brought Toxicroak back in to deal with Dachsbun. The fairy puppy was faster and hit a play rough that took nearly half of Toxicroak's HP away, and I decided to go back to setting up Toxicroak's special attack with Nasty Plot. Dachsbun shockingly threw by using Baby Doll Eyes, enabling for Toxicroak to detonate on Dachsbun with a +2 Sludge Bomb. Now, the once confident Ortega was starting to feel the pressure, as the Ruckba Starmobile was his last line of defense. Toxicroak nearly wiped out all of the health bar of the Starmobile with Sludge Bomb after being taken deep into the orange with a magical torque. So I decided to sub out the Fiend and brought in Stone Cold to be the closer for this bout. A Flare Blitz from Infernape brought the Starmobile down to its last hit point, and after snapping out of its confusion, Stone Cold provided a little bit of acrobatics to hand me my 16th badge, destroying the Team Ruckba Starmobile in the process. I made a level 1 fire and counter power sandwich to catch a Paldean Blaze Breed Tauros, a Scarlet exclusive. And while picking up items at Castleroy Lake in preparation for taking on the False Dragon Titan, I encountered a full odds shiny Slowbro. Now, going after my 5th Titan, I took on Dondozo, labeled as the False Dragon Titan. So I countered with my Titan Stopper, Ripley the Breloom. The table was set after Arvin's Greedent lowered the defense of Dondozo with Tail Whip. So I made the move, interastalizing Breloom and delivering a powerful Seed Bomb to one-shot the giant catfish after previously putting it to sleep with Spore. The Seed Bomb also was a critical hit as the real Dragon Titan, Tatsugiri, showed up. I had Breloom put the sushi monster on the clock by badly poisoning Tatsugiri with Toxic. After avoiding a muddy water, it was time to employ Leech Seed tactics. Now Tatsugiri was going to have its energy sapped on every single turn by both Leech Seed and the toxic damage once I terrestrialized Breloom one more time. Despite Breloom being a part fighting type, the grass typing made it vulnerable to Tatsugiri's Icy Wind, which struck Breloom for over half its HP while also simultaneously hitting Greedent, who retaliated with Takedown, and Tatsugiri got weakened even further by a terrestrialized Seed Bomb from Ripley. The Leech Seed and the poisoning opened the door for Breloom to finish off this Titan bout with one more double-stab terrestrialized Seed Bomb for the victory. Now an owner of 17 badges, my last fight before entering the endgame is heading over to the Team Star Cap Squad base for a fighting type mirror match with Cap Squad leader Aerie. Aerie starts off with Toxicroak, so I decided to counter with my own Toxicroak, holding the leftovers item. My plan of attack was to have Toxicroak bulk up 6 times to raise its attack and defense to a +6. Aerie's Toxicroak's 3 attacks are Poison Jab, Brick Break, and Sucker Punch, which are all not very effective. And on every single turn, my Toxicroak was taking Aerie's Toxicroak's Poison Jabs better and better, all while recovering valuable HP with leftovers. Once I finished boosting up Toxicroak, I had the Fiend set up a substitute. Aerie's Toxicroak couldn't break the sub with Brick Break. I then used Baton Pass to give all the boosts to Hawlucha. This strategic move, inspired by my favorite Pokemon hardcore Nuzlocke Antler Boy, was all designed to ensure that Aries Starmobile didn't do any damage the moment it likes to set up with shift gear, which raises the Starmobile's speed by 2 stages and the attack stat by 1. I had Hawlucha boost up its own speed with agility 3 times, and it became open season on Aries' entire team. Mysterio quickly took out both Toxicroak and Annihilate with acrobatics, then switched it up to Brick Break, eradicating Lucario. Then 2 more rounds of acrobatics eliminated Passimian and the Starmobile in short order. My fearsome fighters have claimed for me all 18 badges, and we refuse to break stride. For this final stretch run, I decided to go to the land of Kitakami to pick up another fighting type that just so happens to have the Fighting Terra in the water, being this Poliwhirl. I then headed back to Paldea and the Asado Desert to catch a Phalanx, then leveling up every single fighting type that was still with me all the way to level 65 as I look to finish the Path of Legend storyline for this battle against Arven. I led off this bout with Kommo-o making its battle debut, pummeling Arven's first Pokemon greeted into submission with close combat. Now that Kommo-o's defenses were lowered, I subbed out Cody Rhodes and brought in Fandango the Quackable to go up against Scovillain. Fandango wasn't holding an item, which powers up this super effective acrobatics, taking Scovillain out, before I made another sub, bringing in Stone Cold the Infernape, holding the new Gen 9 item Punching Glove, powering up its Fire Punch, which one-shot Toadscruel. Next up was John Cena the Annihilate, going up against Arven's Minecraft Pokemon Garganacl, which is a strong defensive Pokemon. So I chose to have Annihilate lower its defenses by 2 stages with Screech before striking with a Stomping Tantrum. Garganacl's responding Earthquake didn't even do half, allowing for Annihilate to pound down that pile of bricks with Drain Punch. Cloyster comes out 5th, a Gen 1 Water and Ice type with notoriously atrocious special defense, so I brought out Ripley the Breloom to take down Cloyster, first putting it to sleep with Spore, before annihilating Cloyster with Giga Drain. Arven's last Pokemon is his beloved Mabostiff, who Arven wasted little time in terrestrializing to power up Mabostiff's Dark-type moves. It then struck first on Ripley with Play Rough, before being put to sleep with Spore. Knowing that Ripley cannot take another Play Rough, I subbed Breloom out in favor of the Rock, my beloved Lucario, who I decided to terrestrialize into a pure fighting type. But Mabostiff eventually woke up and hit a Fire Fang that would have been super effective if I didn't terrestrialize Lucario, who destroys the doggo with an Aura Spear for a resounding victory. And with that, the first of 3 major storylines in my Pokemon Scarlet fighting only run, the Path of Legends, is complete. So far, I have yet to suffer a defeat, and I look to keep my undefeated streak going by taking a ride down Starfall Street. Mother Nature struck again as it begun to rain right before I engaged in battle with Director Clavel in front of Naraja Academy. I had Heracross take down Oranguru with a loaded dice-boosted Pin Missile, striking for 4 hits. Since I figured Houndoom was going to come out second, it made it a good move to bring in Fandango the Quackable while it was still raining. Houndoom outsped, but missed its Thunder Fang, enabling for Fandango to finish Houndoom off with a rain-boosted Aqua Step. Oddly, the rain effects were still going, even though the rain was not showing on screen, when I noticed the Abomasnow Snow Warning ability, which usually sets up the snow, didn't go into effect. I then clicked on Sunny Day like a complete idiot, but got bailed out when Abomasnow missed what would have been a resisted Wood Hammer anyway, before the Grinch of a Christmas Tree got smoked by a Punching Glove boosted quad effective Fire Punch from Stone Cold the Infernape. Clavel's next problematic Pokemon is the intimidating Gyarados, so I countered with Pawmot holding a clear amulet to ensure that its attack stat would not get lowered. Pawmot then absolutely fries Gyarados with its signature move Double Shock, a base 120 power move that causes you to lose the electric typing the moment the attack hits the opposing Pokemon. With Gyarados now gone, Clavel was forced to call upon Poltergeist next, so I brought out John Cena the Annihilate, charging up a Rage Fist to pulverize the Tea Kettle Ghost in one solid shot. Clavel's first 5 Pokemon all went down in a heartbeat, but one giant threat still lurked on the horizon in the grass starter Meowscarada, which has a signature attack Flower Trick that always lands a crit. Meowscarada also has the fairy move Play Rough, which is why I terastallized Triple H to eliminate Play Rough's super effectiveness. Calling for the multi-hit move Pin Missile, 4 hits were guaranteed to finish off this fight, but as you can see here, Heracross only needed 3 Pin Missiles to put down this broken furry bait. As a beat-down Meowscarada fades slowly back into its Pokeball, I was now preparing to take on Penny and her full team of evolutions, but before that, I bought another Water Stone to evolve Poliwhirl, nicknamed Roman Reigns, into Poliwrath, before heading back to the Academy schoolyard and deal with Penny. Considering all of the Pokemon I have in my party for this bout are physical attackers with the exception of Lucario, I knew Penny was going to have her team of evolutions lower the attack stats of all my Pokemon with the Baby Doll Eyes move, considering all 6 of her evolutions have Baby Doll Eyes in its movesets. I led with Becky Lynch to Mienshao against Umbreon, pivoting out with U-Turn, letting Lucario pick up the scraps with Aura Sphere. Next up for Penny was Flareon, and considering it has Flare Blitz, I subbed out the Rock and brought in Roman Reigns the Poliwrath to take the hit. I missed out on putting the Fire-type evolution to sleep with Hypnosis, and after taking the Flare Blitz and having its attack lowered with Baby Doll Eyes, Liquidation was still powerful enough to take Flareon out. Jolteon was next, so I subbed the Rock back in. Jolteon wanted to drop some thunder on Lucario, but the Rock dodged before deleting Jolteon with an Earthquake. I called back the Rock a second time as I subbed in Ripley the Breloom to square off against Penny's 4th evolution, Vaporeon. Not fazed in the least bit by Penny's Baby Doll Eyes strategy, I put Vaporeon to sleep with Spore and then set up a Leech Seed to constantly sap away at Vaporeon's HP. Vaporeon was still sleeping on the next turn, but never got a chance to wake up once the combination of Breloom Seed Bomb and Leech Seed put Vaporeon down. Leafeon came out 5th, so I brought in Mysterio the Hawlucha to deliver not 1, but 2 rounds of acrobatics to send Leafeon into Faintedville. The last evolution left for Penny is the only one that could mount a legitimate threat in Fairy Terra Sylveon, so I made the appropriate substitution and brought out the Fiend, my Toxicroak. Since Toxicroak was caught as a Krogunk with the Fighting Terra, it made the wise choice for me to not terastallize. Sylveon went for the Baby Doll Eyes, but Toxicroak still struck with a super effective Poison Jab, before delivering a second one to put an end to this fight. My fearsome fighting Pokemon remain undefeated so far in my Pokémon Scarlet starter-only run. Starfall Street is now complete, and now it was time to start preparing for the Elite Four. The next big step my fearsome fighters and I had to take was coming over to the Pokemon League in an attempt to become Paldea Region Champion and potentially go through this entire run without suffering a single loss. This was not going to be easy, especially considering the 3rd member of the Elite Four, also normal gym leader Larry, is now going to have a team built with flying types. But before we even get to Larry, we now had to deal with the first Elite Four member, Rika, a master of ground types. This is where the versatility and the sharpness ability of Gallade comes in mighty handily, as I gave LA Knight the scope lens to boost critical hit ratio, proven evident on this quad-effective Leaf Blade to eliminate Whiscash. Camera Up came out second, as it too got wiped out by a quad-effective critical hit Aqua Cutter. I made a sudden switch and brought in Ripley the Breloom to go up against Donphan, hoping to break it sturdy by first putting it to sleep with Spore. I went for the Leech Seed, but it missed. Then Donphan woke up on the first turn, striking Breloom with Poison Jab, but it was Donphan that got poisoned due to Breloom's Effect Spore. After Donphan took poison damage, Breloom dropped a Seed Bomb to knock the elephant out. I subbed up Breloom and brought in Roman Reigns the Poliwrath to go up against Doug Trio, who set up a Sandstorm before being put to sleep by Poliwrath's Hypnosis. The speedy Doug Trio was rendered helpless before it got knocked out in one hit by Poliwrath's Liquidation. As Poliwrath took some chip damage from Sandstorm, I brought back in my critical hit machine, LA Knight the Gallade, to square off against Rika's ace Pokemon, Ground Terra Clodsire, also a poison type. But since Clodsire will terrestrialize, I won't be able to use Psycho Cut to get the quick knockout. Nor can I use Aqua Cutter with Gallade, considering Clodsire has the water absorb ability. And of course, Clodsire uses Protect on the first turn to avoid the first Leaf Blade, but the second one scored a third consecutive crit for Gallade to earn me my first victory in the Elite Four. Once I get that solo standing room only applause from Rika, the next Elite Four matchup will be a favorable one for me and my fearsome fighters. Even though the Steel type is weak to fighting, Poppy still has Pokemon on her team that have Psychic, Flying, and Fairy type coverage. I chose to lead off with Becky Lynch the Mienshao against Poppy's first Pokemon, Caparaja. A fake-out high jump kick combination was more than enough to take Caparaja out, forcing Poppy to bring out, in my opinion, her biggest threat on her team in Corviknight. A magnet-boosted double shock from the Hitman zapped Corviknight completely out of this match. And since Palmont no longer has the electric typing and is now a pure fighting type, Poppy was going to bring out Bronzong, a part psychic type, next. I decided to counter with Paldean Blaze Breed Tauros, nicknamed after former Intercontinental Champion Tito Santana. The Raging Bull one-shots Bronzong. Then I brought in Cody Rhodes to Komodo to face off against Magnezone. A quad-effective Earthquake brought Magnezone down to its 30, then a Brick Break sealed the deal for the KO, also getting rid of Magnezone's Light Screen. Now clearly outnumbered, Poppy still felt that she could flip the script for this bout with her ace Pokemon, Steel Terra Tinkaton. For my counter, I brought out Stone Cold the Infernape, terrestrializing it into a powerful fire type. Tinkaton has a destructive signature move in Gigaton Hammer, a base 160 power steel move that cannot be used twice in a row. But you're not going to see that here, as a Life Orb boosted Fire Punch rearranges Tinkaton's pretty face. After this convincing second Elite Four victory, the biggest threat of them all lies ahead next. This highly anticipated rematch with Larry now gives him the type advantage, considering he now has a team with flying types, including his Staraptor. His lead Pokemon Tropheus would get shot down in one hit by a quad-effective Ice Spinner. I think Quackable took a cue from Gallade, considering that Ice Spinner landed a crit. The previously mentioned Staraptor came out second, immediately intimidating Palmont, so I decided to attack from the special side, giving Staraptor a dishonorable discharge. Altaria came out third, so I decided to bring out Kevin Nash to Crabominable for the first time in this run. Amazingly, Crabominable got the Quick Claw proc, allowing for Kofu's favorite Pokemon to smash Altaria's face in with a quad-effective Ice Punch. I sent Gallade out next, still holding the Scope Lens, to go up against Larry's Pom-Pom style Oricorio, who struck first with Air Slash, but Gallade struck harder with a critical hit Stone Edge for the KO, setting the stage for the main event. I brought out Miz the Medicham to go up first versus Larry's ace Pokemon, his own Flamigo. And once he terrestrializes the powerful Fighting Flying type into a Terra Flying type, you will not believe what is going to come next. The only Pokemon currently on my team that is not weak to Brave Bird is Palmot. So I decided to terrestrialize Medicham into a Terra Psychic type. Despite shedding off its flying weakness, the inevitable was coming. Can Medicham take the punishment? Yes, Medicham can. Now it's time for Medicham to deliver a Thunder Punch for the win. But Flamigo lives on 1 HP. Time for me to go to Plan B. Bring out my next healthy Pokemon, Kevin Nash, the Crabominable. I was expecting for Flamigo to go for Brave Bird again despite taking some massive recoil damage, but it oddly went for Liquidation, which still caused a defense drop on Kevin Nash. There was no way Crabominable was going to take a Brave Bird at -1 defense, so I brought Palmot back into action to take the blow. As long as the Brave Bird doesn't crit, Palmot will knock itself silly. $32 HP again? What are the odds of that happening? Twice in the same Pokemon battle. Down goes Flamigo, and the undefeated streak for my fearsome fighters are still alive. But there's still one more Elite Four challenge left, and that is to take on Hassel, the master of dragon types. Knowing that Hassel's lead Pokemon, Noivern, has Super Fang, an attack that cuts in half the HP of the first Pokemon I bring out, I slapped a Choice Scarf on Fandango the Quackable for it to be faster, destroying Noivern in one hit with a quad-effective Ice Spinner. Hassel's next Pokemon, Dragalge, has Thunderbolt, so I brought out Cody Rhodes the Kommo-o to finish Dragalge off in one hit with Earthquake. Next up for Hassel was Flapple, so I brought out Triple H the Heracross, who turned that apple into a pincushion with a loaded dice-boosted pin missile, which only needed 3 hits to get the KO. Rewarding Crabominable for the fine job it did against Larry's Flyers, I brought Crabominable out to go up against the mold-breaking Haxorus, who struck first with a powerful, super-effective Iron Head. Kevin Nash claps back with a powerful Ice Hammer, smashing Haxorus, leaving Hassel with only one Pokemon left, being the Gen 9 pseudo-legendary Dragon and Ice-type Baxcalibur. I brought Fandango the Quackable back in, still at full HP and still holding the Choice Scarf after that destruction of Noivern to begin this bout. Due to terrestrialization, Baxcalibur is now weak to Ice Spinner, but now that it is terrestrialized, its signature move, Glaive Rush, struck Quackable for over half of its HP, but Quackable stood tall and delivered a second Ice Spinner for the victory, capping off a perfect 4-for-4 run through the Paldea Elite Four, setting the stage for the final showdown with top champion Gita at the pinnacle of the Pokemon League. Flexing my muscles after a gutsy showing to survive the Elite Four gauntlet, I'm taking with me these 6 fearsome fighting Pokemon to throw down against top champion Gita's team. LA Knight the Gallade holding a scope lens. John Cena the Annihilate holding a muscle band. Triple H the Heracross holding a wide lens. My starter Fandango the Quackable holding Mystic Water. The Rock, my mascot Lucario holding an expert belt. And Stone Cold the Infernape. My fighting stars have come a long way, and there is nothing that's going to stop us from obtaining complete victory. Top champion Gita leads off with a Spathra, and I chose to begin with LA Knight the Gallade. Espathra struck first with Dazzling Gleam, and Geeta thought she was going to take the early edge in this match, before Espathra got dropped with a critical hit Night Slash. Make it 5 critical hit knockouts in the Pokemon League for the Gen 4 Ralts evolution, and even Geeta was impressed. Still, the match has only just begun. Geeta next brought out Go-Goat, so I decided to counter with Triple H the Heracross, delivering a powerful Mega Horn to put Go-Goat out. I almost kept Heracross in considering King Gambit was next, but I decided to bring out Annihilate to destroy King Gambit with a quad-effective close combat. In what appears to be a mismatch, I brought out Stone Cold the Infernape, a firefighting type, to do combat against Veluza, a water psychic type. Infernape was quick to throw hands with Thunder Punch, and the power of friendship caused Veluza to whiff its liquidation attempt before getting knocked out with a second Thunder Punch from Stone Cold. This match continued to spiral out of control for Geeta, as her Avalugg was quickly cut down in one hit by a powerful flash cannon from the rock, my beloved Lucario. At long last, my quest in becoming Paldea champion with my fearsome fighters was about to come to an end, as I brought out the Pokemon that I first chose for this run, Fandango the Quackable, to go up against Glamora, Geeta's ace, a Rock Terra Pokemon that's also a Poison type. Glamora was able to hit with Dazzling Gleam that would have been super effective if I didn't terrestrialize, and just like my Pokemon Scarlet starter-only run, this bout came to an epic conclusion with a super effective Mystic Water-boosted Aqua Step. Crown me champion once again in the Paldea region at Naraja Academy. Only 2 battles remain, and if I can win them both without losing a Pokemon, I have completed a Monotype run for fun in Pokemon Scarlet using only fighting types, completely deathless. Deep in the heart of Mesagoza, it's champion versus champion, as I went to war against fellow neighbor and champion Nemona for the right to be called the ultimate champion of the Paldea region. Nemona's lead Lycanroc outspeeds and hit a powerful drill run that took off over half of Lucario's HP, before the rock retaliated with an expert belt-boosted flash cannon that scored a critical hit. An early statement made by my awesome channel mascot. Nemona decided to bring out her trusty Pawmot, threatening Lucario's existence with close combat, so I decided to bring in LA Knight the Gallade, still holding a scope lens. Gallade somehow withstood Pawmot's double shock before striking back with Psycho Cut that landed another critical hit. Ever since the beginning of the Pokemon League, Gallade has now registered 6 critical hit knockouts. I subbed LA Knight out and brought out John Cena the Annihilate to rough up 3-segmented Dunsparce with a vicious close combat. Nemona brought out Orthworm forth, and considering the slug has abysmal special defense, I had Infernape hold the Wise Glasses item to power up its flamethrower. As Orthworm got incinerated, Nemona was down to her final 2 Pokemon. Up next is the Dragon-type Goodra, so I countered with my own dragon, Cody Rhodes the Kamoho, who sliced through Goodra's defenses with a Dragon Claw that scored yet another critical hit. And for those of you keeping count, that's 3 critical hit knockouts for my team of fearsome fighters during this bout. And Nemona only has her starter Pokemon Skeleturge to lean on, as I decided to run it back to my very first Pokemon battle in Pokemon Scarlet with my starter, Fandango the Quackable. I've come a long way since I started this journey with Quaxley, and as Nemona and I terrestrialized our Pokemon, my Quackable is faster, and courtesy of this final Aqua Step, I proved to Nemona, in front of all of Paldea, who the strongest truly is, once and for all. My fearsome fighters and I proved that we're more than tough enough to handle any situation, as the Victory Road storyline comes to an emphatic close. The second I reached the end of my victory road, I got a call from Arvin while I was in my dorm room trying to rest and recuperate. It was time to head to Area 0, as I brought 6 of the best fighting types along with me on the way home to a family reunion for Koraidon, which was anything but heartwarming. We made it all the way down to the deepest depths of Area 0. It was time to be brave, stand up, and fight against Professor AI Sada and her outstanding array of past Paradox Pokémon as I try to complete my Scarlet fighting-only run without suffering a single loss of a Pokémon. 3 of Sada's Pokémon in particular will cause massive problems for my team in Screamtail, Fluttermane, and Roaring Moon, but I was determined with the plan I had set in place to come out of this fight unscathed. As Sada brought out her lead Pokémon, Slitterwing, I brought out my counter in Hawlucha. My first call of this bout was to have Hawlucha deliver its signature move, Flying Press, which doubles as a fighting and flying type move, striking the ancient Volcarona for some quad-effective damage before Slitterwing retaliated by lowering Hawlucha's speed with a resistant low sweep, but due to Hawlucha holding a rocky helmet, Slitterwing knocked itself out in the process. I confidently kept Mysterio in to go up against Screamtail, still with the rocky helmet intact. Screamtail's attack stat is not one to write about, but it still struck for some big damage with Play Rough. I lowered Screamtail's attack stat by 2 stages with Feather Dance, and then Screamtail missed its second attempt at Rough Play. I took this turn to heal up with Roost, and knowing that another Play Rough was coming from the ancient Jigglypuff, I held my collective breath. Miraculously, Mysterio survived a critical hit Play Rough on just 3 HP, allowing for me to use Feather Dance one more time to lower Screamtail's already pathetic attack stat at a -4. I wisely subbed out Hawlucha and brought in LA Knight the Gallade, who immediately took 2 Play Roughs on the switch. However, Gallade was able to lower the attack stat of Screamtail all the way down to a -6 with Charm. And since Gallade is also holding the Light Clay, it would allow for me to set up both a Reflect and a Light Screen for 8 turns each. I put in some defense EVs in the Gallade for it to take the Play Roughs even better, before striking with a Poison Jab that also got the poison. One more Poison Jab from Gallade finally put Screamtail down, setting the stage for Sada's next threat, Fluttermane. The ancient Miss Revis has a legendary-like special attack and speed stats. However, the Rock, my Lucario, was able to withstand the mystical fire from Fluttermane, absorbing 2 of them before taking out Fluttermane, winning this battle of attrition with a Metal Coat boosted Flash Cannon despite 2 special attack drops from Fluttermane's mystical fire. Next up for Sada was Brute Bonnet, and I had the perfect counter with Triple H, my Heracross. The ancient Amoonguss is a grass and dark type. Both of those types are weak to bug, making Brute Bonnet suffer quad effective damage 3 times over with Heracross's Pin Missile. It was guaranteed 4 hits anyway, considering Heracross was holding the Gen 9 item Loaded Dice. With Brute Bonnet now out of the picture, Sada was down to her last 2 Pokemon, with the first of those 2 being Sandy Shocks. I decided to bring in my starter, Fandango the Quackable, who confidently took a super effective discharge before striking back with its own signature move, Aqua Step, for a 1-hit KO. In dramatic fashion, I have made it to the final duel of the final fight for this entire run, as Sada was down to her ace Pokemon, the ancient Salamence better known as the Dragon Dark-type Roaring Moon. The Pokemon I hand-picked for this moment was the Alola region pseudo-legendary Kommo-o, who I trained right after becoming Paldea champion, nearly maxing out its special attack stats. Roaring Moon was always going to be faster, but Kommo-o was also going to be safe from a crit, considering Kommo-o was holding a focus sash. And in the illustrious words of Michael Cole, Cody Rhodes finished the story. Kommo-o, the rest of my fighting Pokemon and I have done it. We have successfully completed a Pokémon Scarlet fighting-only run without losing a single Pokemon. Even though it was a mono-type run for fun, there were still plenty of twists and turns, but somehow I was able to accomplish my first deathless mono-type run in all of Pokémon Scarlet. And for the cherry on top for this run, Koraidon got inspired, changed into its battle form, defeated its bully brother, and the Paradise Protection Protocol was officially vanquished. To all of you who took the time and seeing this run for yourself, from the beginning to the end, I sincerely thank you from the bottom of my heart. If you love content like this, be sure to leave a like. And if you are a newcomer to this channel, be sure to click on the subscribe button, because every subscription tells me that I am doing something right and will inspire me to want to make even more gaming content, regardless if it's Pokemon or another game I like to play. I already have another mono-type run finished, but this one is in Pokemon Violet, focusing on my favorite type, the Fairy type. Until that comes across, take care, God bless you all, thank you again for watching, and keep on shining.